A man and a woman sit together on a bed, eyes wide open but no signs of life. A large needle is inserted into the woman, and thick blood oozes into the tube, then into a container. A gloved hand writes on a postcard saying, "Watch the innocent die." In a dimly lit room, a man named Jacob is looking out the window with a solemn face, wanting to cry. There's a knock at the door and he leaves with some cops. He follows them to the morgue. Then a staff zips open a body bag. His face is flooded with emotions, and another body bag is opened. Tears fall on his cheeks as he confirms the identity of the two bodies. This causes him to indulge in alcohol the whole night, not forgetting the face of the deceased woman from the body bag. A train runs on its tracks and there's a married couple sitting next to each other inside. They meet a tattooed man named Peter, and the two introduce themselves as Mac and Sylvia. Back at the dark room, a woman wakes up the drunken man wanting to see Kimberly, the woman in the body bag the night before. Jacob gets up and addresses her as Valerie. She's distressed walking around the room, and Jacob tries to calm her down. Valerie sobs and is desperate to see Kimberly, but Jacob tells her she shouldn't, so she settles with seeing where the crime happened. They arrive at the location, and Valerie is told to wait downstairs as Jacob and the inspector, Rupert, talk inside. Jacob states that Kimberly, his daughter, must have known the suspects since there was no forced entry. Valerie ignores Rupert's order and sneaks upstairs quietly, listening in on the two men. Rupert explains that Kimberly and her husband's bodies were completely drained of blood, and they were posed together on the bed in a gruesome manner. The male's eyes were pinned open as Kimberly's arm was severed and shoved into his mouth, her body nestled in her husband's embrace. This terrifies Valerie and starts trembling. Jacob believes that the suspect wanted to send a message as it may be connected to past cases. Back at the train, Mac and Sylvia chat with Peter, and he invites the couple to venture with him. He leaves to get vodka to share with them, but when he returns, the two are gone. Jacob meets up with Rupert again, asking him questions about a postcard relating to the case. He refuses to give Jacob answers as it's confidential, regardless if he's a cop and related to the case. Jacob is persistent and tells him that he'll find the answers on his own and leaves. He decides to travel to Europe to deepen his investigation on the cases. He talks with another inspector, Clow, about the cases. Jacob catches on that the killer has a specific pattern and target, specifically young, married couples. Clow mentions the postcards and photographs, which surprises Jacob and asks if there were photos of his daughter. At Clow's office, he lets him take a look at the crime scene photos. In Stockholm, Sweden, a journalist named Dessie receives a postcard that says "Love will never die." She turns in the postcard to the officials, and they tell her that she's now part of an ongoing case. This alerts Jacob's attention, so he tries to reach out to her, but with no luck. Near the lakeside, Mac and Sylvia are out for a stroll, hand in hand. They're spotted by Peter, sitting at a bar close by. They share a laugh about the couple leaving Peter on the train, and once again he invites the two to share a drink with him. Peter jokes that he's stalking them since he guessed correctly on where the two are staying. The couple has a scared reaction, but is relieved when Peter points to their bag with the hotel's name on it. The next day, Jacob confronts a Swedish detective, Agneta, about the potential killing that'll happen according to his speculations. He explains that the first cases in London were 8 days apart. Then the Munich case was 16 days after, insinuating a pattern. She doesn't take it into account, which leaves Jacob frustrated and takes off. At the office, Dessie researches about the murder cases. In the memorial website of Kimberly and her husband Tom, she clicks on a video. In the video, she sees Jacob, whom she recognizes from the previous night. Dessie immediately grabs the business card he left at her door and searches his name. They meet up and go for a walk together, telling Jacob that she wants to help. They get to her place, and Dessie informs Jacob of what she's collected so far. The postcards come from cities where the crimes happened, with short messages following an ellipsis. Meanwhile, Mac and Sylvia enjoy a party with Peter, where he introduces his wife, Nienk. The next day, Jacob and Dessie seek help from a professional, asking if he recognizes the posers from the crime scene. He shows them the artwork of The Incredulity of St. Thomas by Caravaggio, depicting a similar scene as one of the murders. Jacob consults Clow about it, and they check the museum's CCTV footage. He recognizes two figures clothed in hoods checking out Caravaggio's painting. They were also there the day before the selected footage. This alerts the detective team to look for not one suspect, but all heterosexual couples ranging from 20 to 40 years old. The detectives pick up on a lead, and on the board are Peter and Nienke's profiles. They call reinforcements and investigate the couple's home, but unfortunately, there were no traces of them. But soon enough, they get news about a new murder scene. When they arrive at the crime scene, they find the pale bodies of Peter and Nienke. Next to them is the beanie that Sylvia gave to Peter. Jacob holds it in his hand and says that it was Kimberly's. The bodies are posed and their ears had been severed and stitched on Peter's back. Dessie takes a look at the photos of the corpses. She says that it's a reference to Psyche Revived by Cupid's Kiss by Antonio Casanova, which is exhibited at the National Museum in Stockholm. They connect it to the postcard Dessie received, with the message "Love will never die." At the detective's office, they call Jacob to take a look at the footage they found close to the ferry terminal. The footage was slowed and enhanced, and they see that next to Peter and Nienke, there's another couple, which are Mac and Sylvia. The couple check out of their hotel at the receptionist, but the staff suddenly looks at them skeptically. As they leave, police cars cover their way and rush towards them, placing them in cuffs and escorting them into the car. The couple is in confusion about the sudden arrest. They're admitted for interrogation, where Jacob and the team watch from behind the scenes. The interrogators show Sylvia the pictures of their deceased friends, and she grimaces. As Mac and Sylvia answer questions flawlessly, Jacob doesn't buy it and claims that it's all rehearsed. He's set on believing that the couple killed his daughter, as well as all the other victims. The interrogators don't get much from them, and they have no evidence to back up their speculations. Jacob pleads with Agneta to keep them overnight, but they're only allowed to keep suspects for 12 hours without an arrest warrant. The couple is ordered to stay in Stockholm as persons of interest. Back in London, Valerie meets up with Bill, a district attorney. Bill asks her if she knows the name Simon Haysmith, and she recalls the news about him embezzling millions of dollars from his clients. Bill tells her that Simon's case was going to be dropped due to lack of evidence. But one day, all the proof got released by none other than his own son because he detests his father. Valerie is shocked after finding out that Mac is Haysmith's son. She calls Jacob and gives him the information she learned from Bill. She plans to find Haysmith to get information from him at Usborne. Clow calls Jacob about the fifth couple recently killed in Amsterdam. Jacob realizes that Sylvia collects other people's receipts in order to have alibis regarding their locations. Sylvia looks out the window of her hotel room as she remembers memories as a little girl. She walked through an art museum following a man and a little boy by her side. Her thoughts then get disrupted by room service. Back at Dessie's, she reports to Jacob that the couple had ordered room service, but from outside of the hotel. Jacob gets suspicious by this, and later in the evening, he arrives at the hotel Mac and Sylvia are staying at. Agneta warns him to stay away but doesn't listen. He gets the room number from the receptionist and heads for it, but is unaware that he just passed by the two who are in the elevator wearing room service uniforms. Agneta and reinforcements storm through the hotel but are met with Jacob. He tells her that the two are gone, but Agneta says they couldn't have gotten far since their passports are marked. Meanwhile, Mac and Sylvia dress in disguises and retrieve new passports while they set off to a different location. Valerie arrives at a large mansion, which is Haysmith's previous home, and breaks in. She finds an open cabinet containing a lock, but is startled by a woman's voice threatening to call the police. The woman is named Nancy, who lives near the mansion they're in, and apologizes to Valerie about their bad encounter. At Nancy's place, she tells Valerie about Haysmith's son named after his father, Simon. She mentions that Haysmith's wife hung herself and that their children found her. Valerie wasn't aware that Haysmith had more than one child. Nancy explains that Simon has an older sister named Marina. Haysmith, or Simon Sr., raised his kids strictly. Whenever they'd act improper, they'd receive harsh beating. He wanted perfection from his kids, but if they didn't oblige, he'd whip it out of them. Marina hasn't been seen since she left for boarding school, and Simon may have been taken by Child Protective Services. Another crime scene has been spotted, and Clow points out that there's been a break in the killer's pattern. The handwriting on the postcard is different, and there were no photographs or mutilation. They suspect that it might be a copycat since the couple was bound in Stockholm. In the car, Dessie shows pictures of the bodies from Amsterdam, and Jacob takes a look. He starts crying once he sees his grandmother's ring on the severed hand, confirming the location of his daughter's hands. Valerie arrives at Usborne and meets Haysmith. She gets straight to the point and asks about Marina. Haysmith doesn't tell her much aside from explaining that all he did was raise her to be perfect. He mentions that the two siblings are always found together and can only be separated by force. Jacob discusses the new information with Dessie. He connects the pieces together and realizes that Simon and Marina Haysmith are Mac and Sylvia, the couple hiding an incestuous relationship. Someone sings Sweet Home Alabama. At their new hotel, Mac and Sylvia, or Simon and Marina, talk intimately together in the bathroom. They both share the need for their father's destruction of perfection, and to make him feel worse than how they've been treated by him. Marina comforts him, and the two start making out. Dessie realizes that the art references they used for the bodies depict their story, all about love, pain, and death. Jacob and Dessie don't think it's over yet, because the last postcard still contains an ellipsis. She explains that Simon and Marina want to show their love is valid through the use of posing the bodies, regardless of it being incest. Over the years, many forms of love have been accepted, but not the kind of love the couple shares. Jacob gets an idea to post about the killer's message through the article Dessie planned to write about him. Simon and Marina read the article from their hotel room. Jacob wants to let them know that their message is heard and that they can stop with the killings. Disregarding the article, Marina shows Simon her laptop, telling him about their final piece. Simon is hesitant and suggests that they should stop with their scheme and just disappear. Marina refuses, and Simon asks if they should split up instead, wanting to live a normal life. She disagrees and claims that what they're doing is fighting in order to have the normal life they want, so they must push through with it. Dessie receives an email from an unknown sender. They thank her for telling their story and that they're going to stop. Jacob speculates that the two are traveling under their real names and using their Russian passports. Clow mentions that there were several postcards that appeared in different locations, but with all the same message. Now we are reborn, no ellipsis. Agneta's team finds a way to trace the couple down through a tablet they purchased. Reinforcements search the train but realize that they've been thrown off using the tablet. On the road, Jacob and Dessie are tailed by another car, which is Simon and Marina's. The couple bumps into them trying to crash them. Jacob and Dessie's car flip over, leaving them unconscious. When Jacob wakes up, Dessie is nowhere to be found. He's left to walk, but is hitchhiked by a truck. Simon is driving while Marina has Dessie laying on her shoulder, face all bloody. They stop at the side in the middle of nowhere and lay her down on the snow, preparing her for their final piece. She fights back to prevent herself from getting drugged, but Marina holds her down. As they try to drug her again, Jacob arrives just in time and fires a bullet to stop them. Jacob finally confronts his daughter's killer. They share a brief conversation before Marina aims for the knife on the ground. Simon tries to stop her, but Jacob shoots Simon. Marina cries out and rushes towards his body while Jacob tends to Dessie. He decides to spare them both, assuring Dessie that they have no escape. Marina drags Simon through the snow, and she comforts her lover, telling him they're going home. In the hospital, Clow visits Jacob, telling him that Simon and Marina are not biologically related but adopted. He tells Jacob that they've recovered his daughter's hands for a proper burial. Haysmith receives a phone call from prison, and to his astonishment, it's his daughter Marina on the line, simply saying, "Hello father, it's me." What a sick and twisted movie. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.